Real estate is such a hyper local industry. What works in Los Angeles probably is not going to work the same way in Alabama. What my hope is, I inspire all of you to take these concepts and literally do what Mark and Kim are doing. You're learning, you're growing, and you're making it your own. Please keep sharing these wins, because I think you're inspiring others to analyze this stuff and to say, okay, how can I do this? And honestly, in my 14 years of buying and converting online leads, I've just found that people that keep doing the work, keep facing failure, the majority of people you talk to are not going to want to work with you, and keep asking questions, keep learning in sessions like this one. Those are the agents that end up being very successful. It's why I have an 80 agent team. The standard intro. My name is Barry Jenkins, and I run a teamerage of 80 agents in Virginia Beach. And I wrote a best-selling book called Too Nice for Sales that actually is up for an award. I find out in the next few weeks due to its persistent success. The Meskula team has asked me to spend time with their users every week, kind of applying the principles of the book and also what's helped derive my success in my career. And what we do, what really moves the needle is just talking to you guys. So this is where you're going to bring your scenarios, your wins, your failures. We're going to laugh with you, cry with you, and try to, help you leave each call with at least one actionable item that you can utilize in your business. So I want to make space if anybody has any pressing stuff. If not, I'll bring up some topics. But has anyone had any recent successes of applying these principles, or maybe things aren't working for you and you want to talk about it?
Sorry, I'm driving, but yeah, so I just wanted to get your opinion because I kind of shifted the way I've been approaching things because it comes in through Meskula. Either I try to follow up directly, or if I miss by a few minutes, you have that. What I've noticed the past month is people get, I don't know if it's because of the holiday season, there's a lot of stress or whatever it may be. People get agitated, automatically blocked. Call them from the CRM. From the app, it's blocked. So I shifted to calling them from my own number. It was better, but they'll delay me. They'll try to delay me. Oh, like, we'll see you in the new year, or follow up with us in the new year. So what I've shifted towards was I don't even bother with the calling. I just go straight to the door knock. I have their address, the door knock. Hey, I was in your neighborhood. I was doing an eval, or I was just doing like a for sale or an open house or whatever it may be in your neighborhood. I had an hour to spare between my next appointment. Figured I'd pass by to see if you had 20 minutes to walk me through your home. That's been working better for me, so I'm getting more of that in person. Now it's just, what would you recommend for the follow-ups to like get that listing? Because like obviously like it's where you need to nurture for like once or like a couple months. So like I'll do the walkthrough, I'll go home, I'll do my homework, I'll get I'll go back to them the next day or in 2 days. I'll drop it off in person. I'll try. If not, then I'll send it via email. But I try my best to go in person. And then it's nurturing. So what would you recommend to kind of get that listing?
And so in this situation, just to make sure I have clarity, you did meet with the people, but it's after the meeting, right?
Yeah. So like, again, I adapted because I don't know why I've changed my model because I don't know why the CRM the app is getting blocked. The number gets blocked, so I can't even contact them. So now I just bother with the phone call. I just go to the in-person. Like I door knock and hopefully let me in, which I've seen more success with that. So I do the walkthrough. I get the value. I drop it off the next day or in 2 days. Drop it off in person if I can. And then it's just after that it's nurturing. So what would you recommend, like in the nurturing process, to kind of just stay present? What I've been doing is monthly calls with a drip campaign.
Yeah. Look, I mean, first of all, good job trying to pivot to have those conversations, right? You just said, oh, the phone number is not working, this is horrible, but you take a different approach, and apparently you're having success, which is fantastic. So first of all, just want to celebrate that. And so then the challenge. So first of all, the benefit to what you're doing is you're having conversations with homes, and it's getting far enough to where you're having some kind of conversation about the condition of the home. You're working on the value, and then they're expecting you to come back. The downside in your next adventure with what you're doing is your approach if I am understanding you correctly, they're not expecting you on that first appointment. Is that right? Okay. Yeah. So in marketing, we call that disruptive marketing, right? There's where people go to Facebook, for example, to look at their friends' Facebook updates, and they, while on Facebook, they see something in their news feed that's disruptive, like, click here to check your home value, and then they enter their information. With what you're doing is you're stopping by. They weren't planning on talking to you, and suddenly now they are. What you're going to have to figure out how to do, and it's very possible, is to surface their genuine motivation for moving. And the reason why I gave the context I did is when you're using disruptive marketing, especially face to face, getting the person's guard to come down to where they're not like, okay, it's very, very challenging. And so I would probably, while I'm there, and I would probably use everything you're already doing. What you're doing is working, but while you're there, I want you to try to use some really engaging questions. My favorite one, because it just seems to be the least pushy, is, so, hey, whenever you decide to move, are you staying local or are you moving out of the area? Now, my hope is that when they answer that question, they add some additional details, like, I'm going to stay local. And then they say something like, I'm thinking about moving next year, right? Now, once you have that, right, that's when you press into where they're going. Oh, okay, you're going to stay local. Do you have a part of town that you're interested in, right? And this is literally while you're doing your walkthrough of the property, right? So yeah, it's almost, it feels haphazard. It's because it's so casual that it's unassuming. They can't tell that you're trying to surface more information about them. So you're very, very casual. Oh, I love that color. That's amazing. Hey, so one thing actually just popped in my head. Are you considering staying local, or are you relocating out of the area whenever you decide to move? Right. So just casual, because in order for you to nurture in a way that's not just, hey, don't forget me, but a nurturing in a way that accelerates the person's timeline without pushing them. You're not going to be able to do that unless you know more about their story. And what you'll find with homeowners, to the degree that you can press into their next adventure, where they're moving to next, and you can become a valuable, in the same way you're a valuable asset in determining the home value, you have to become a valuable asset to wherever they're going next, right? If they're going out of relocating out of the area, the pitch would be, okay, perfect. I've got agents in, the western side of the country. Like, that's great. I can connect you with them. I would love to be able to set up a casual interview to where they can maybe send you some listings, to where you start becoming a part of their relocation, not just a part of your listing the home. See, what we like to do is we like to kind of mentally silo our different roles. And what I'm advocating for is kind of like a comprehensive injection into the process.
Like, get them to like the dream.
Yeah, exactly. Get them to build the dream. Now, once they do that, and I see there's some questions about this, so I'll go back over the questions in a minute. But once they view their motivation, that changes everything about your nurture. Because instead of saying, well, what can I send them? Right? Like, oh, I'll send them a housing report, news updates, a holiday card, a New Year's, text. And then you're just trying to stay in front of them, which there's value in staying in front of them. Your follow-up is so surgical in nature that they start to value you in like a really significant way. And it doesn't even feel like lead nurture anymore. You're kind of like a project manager at that point. But it all hinges on you being able to casually talk about where they're going next. But I when I say that, I always like to use the word when you decide to move, or if you decided to move, because I'm trying to separate, right? The selling the home is it's only exciting to the real estate agent, right? So only we're excited about it. Like, literally, this is why you're buying the platform, is to talk to homeowners about selling. The homeowner's like not excited about this. If you want dopamine, right, that pleasure chemical in the brain where they're excited and passionate and their eyes light up and they smile while they talk, you talk about buying something new. You talk about leaving what's behind and going after something new. When you do that, you're going to see them start to get more excited about the process. And when you do that, when you surface their motivation, when you become an asset to where they're going, you're going to shrink the timeline. If it was 9 months, it's probably like 3 or 4 now, just because you're going to make it easy. So this is a very subtle change for you, Leif. Like, you're doing so much right. Because I'll tell you right now, if you knocked on my door and we're like, hey, can I do a walkthrough? I'm like, no, dog, you're not coming to my house. Like, I'm just telling you. So you're doing something right, right? Like, it's actually really impressive. And so this is just a subtle tweak. Don't change your vibe because something you're doing is working. Just add this subtle element to it. I guarantee you, if you do this, if you nail this, it's going to change the whole trajectory of this program for you.
For sure. Yeah. I'll take your advice. I appreciate
Congrats,
it.
Man. Congrats. All right, so Melissa and then Mark. So Melissa said, the other day you spoke about the RPR for your clients. Is there a one-pager available? So with RPR, it's a home evaluation tool. It's not one. If you are a realtor, it is free. The mobile app is actually really solid. The other home evaluation services that aren't CMA driven, they're like just a home value. HomeBot is not bad because it actually pulls their mortgage data for the American clients on the call. It pulls their mortgage balance and then pulls their home equity, or excuse me, their home value, and shows them how much equity they have. So that's cool. And Fellow is another one, but Fellow is really expensive. So HomeBot's only like $20 a month. So the first question was, where were you planning to move? All right. So the first question that I used was, whenever you decide to move, or if you decide to move, either one. So I'll go with if. If you decide to move, are you going to stay local? Or are you going to move out of the area? Local or out of the area? So it's the question I like to ask because I want to talk about what they're going to buy. I'm not going to speed up the process by telling them what their home value is. Right? Like, you guys will come on this call super excited if you were like, hey, I met with someone and gave them their home value and they were so excited they wanted to list the next day. Like, we would all be excited. We'd be like, oh my gosh, you're so lucky. That's amazing. Because it just doesn't happen that often. If you want a scalable business, right, you want to take people that are interested in their home value and become a part of their home selling journey. The fastest way to do that is to be in sync with them. Talking about selling, like, here's 5 reasons why I can sell your home in 2 weeks. That's not interesting for people that aren't ready to sell. In fact, they're doing this. They're pushing you away at that moment because it's not the type of pressure they want. All right. So Kim, you had your hand up, and then Mark.
So you asked about wins. So I do have a win, not listing related, but reading your book and just attending the calls from Meskula and attending your Friday calls. My buyer side of the business is booming. Like, I'm so busy. I'm like, I don't even care. I don't have a listing. But thank you so much. That's what I wanted to say about win. As far as the other I had kind of ties into the what Lath had asked. So it sounds like if the person doesn't pick up the phone, they this is what happened. I had somebody schedule a call with me. They messaged and they said, I'm hard of hearing. Please don't call me. Please email me or text me instead. And then they opted out of text messages. And when I email, it bounces back. So I did try to call and they didn't pick up and they said they're hard of hearing. So in this case, would you stop in their house with the CMA and try to have conversation? And if yes, how do you start? Because I've never done that before where I just knock and say, here's your CMA. Like, I think that's kind of weird. But I'm willing to do it. I just know I need to know what to say.
Yeah. So the good thing about stopping by in your case is they can read your lips, right? The downside of just going directly to the person's house is that it's accelerate what the outcome was going to be anyway. So when you meet them face to face and they scream at you and slam the door, they were never going to work with you, right? But now you just really found out, you know it now, like they're not a good lead. Reciprocally though, if they're receptive to you and they're open to talking with you, then you've accelerated working with them by meeting face to face. And to Oliver's point, you can drop it off and you don't actually have to say anything. You know, anytime that I did a pop by like that, I would have an apologetic and administrative tone to me. So the apologetic and administrative tone would kind of sound something like this. Hey, Kim, this is Barry Jenkins with Better Homes and Gardens. You reached out to me about your home value. I happen to be in the area. And so I wanted to drop off a preliminary report on the home value and discuss it with you a little bit. Do you have 5 minutes? So it's just very matter of fact. Like I'm not, hey, this is Barry with Better Homes. Like it's very administrative, very calm, very matter of fact, casual, indirect, and then just basically you in my market, I would expect them to say thank you, take it, and say they don't want to talk about it anymore. That's how people would be in my area, and this is a location specific thing. And so as they're like, thank you, I don't have any questions. That's when you ask the high level question. One of two questions based on, your comfort level. One would be, if the price was right, would you be open to receiving an offer on the property? That's one that it skips all the noise, gets right to, is this an actual seller lead or not? Right. Because again, as I always tell you guys, if they say no to that question, they are for real, not a seller. Because I didn't say, do you want to move? Right? When do you want to move? That's a different kind of question. I said, if the price was right, would you be open to receiving an offer? It's such a low level of intention that if they say no to that, they weren't a good seller. So as they take the CMA from me, I'm going to and say, I don't have any questions. Okay, great. Hey, one question I have for you, and that's your shot. That's your moment. Hey, this is Kim. So just going back. Hey, this is Kim with Acme Realty. You contacted me about your home value. I worked up a preliminary CMA and I happen to be in the area. I figured I would drop it off. Did you want to review it and have any questions for me? Expect them to say no. Say, okay, great. One quick question I have for you. And then I would either go with, if the price was right, would you be open to receiving an offer? Or I would ask them something about their intention of moving. If you do decide to move next year, are you going to be staying local or moving out of the area? And then just run with the conversation, right? Whatever they say to you, affirm it. Make them feel like you're hearing them, right? Oh, that sounds great. I'm so happy to hear that. And then just keep asking them questions. My goal in that initial conversation would be to get their motivation, like when they're moving, if they're open to moving. And two, I would love to be able to do a walkthrough of the property. And using the same script that I've told you guys before, I'm going to use well, since you're considering selling next year, this is the perfect time to make sure that you're not wasting money on repairs, right? And so in order for me to do that, I just need to do a quick walkthrough. I'm going to look at the home like a buyer would and make sure you don't fix anything that you don't have to. Now, expecting them to let you in their home right away, a lot of people, oh, I got to clean my house first or whatever, so just have some grace there. But again, administrative, tone, very matter of fact, and then run with it. I think dropping off the CMA, if I dropped it off, like if you pull up to the house and you just get weird energy, like maybe there's like graffiti on the walls or they haven't mowed the lawn in a long time and you're like, I am not going in this person's house. You could post a note on top of, I saw somebody, they had extra FedEx labels or envelopes. They put the CMA in a FedEx envelope and put it on the door. So, they didn't write on the FedEx envelope, but they just used the FedEx envelope and they put it in because then it looks like they got some, direct mail. And I was like, oh man, that is really smart. And then they put like a post-it note in blue ink on top. It was a bigger post-it note. And they just wrote something like, hey, here, 2 questions about your property. Call me when you get a chance. And then they put the cell number and then just their dash in their first name. And they put that on the door. So that's good, but it's not as good as talking to them because real estate is a contact sport. Quickly, Kim, what would you say out of the content that you're receiving and the support you've received? What is helping you with your buyer business right now? Why do you think it's helping you, would you say?
I think it's really just listening to scenarios of how people handle other objections, and then it built my confidence to have the conversations and given me curiosity to just keep asking questions. So I do that with my buyer. I just keep asking them questions and they love it. So.
Yeah, I'm so glad I asked you that question because honestly, guys, like if you were to distill my training, it would be become a very passionate and curious teacher. Like I haven't had a lot of teachers that were passionate and curious, but man, the ones that did, like I literally have Hebrew tattooed on my arm because I had a tutor that was an Israeli general and a conservative Jew, and I'm not Jewish, as my teacher. And he just like, the passion he had and the way that he wouldn't just give me the answer. He would like ask me and ask questions, and it changed how I learn in life, right? And so that kind of bring into, because I have a teacher's heart, I bring into my meetings like with you guys, and also that's what made me a success in sales. Nobody trained me, as I talk about in the book, how to be a salesperson. I remember the first time I told a lead that I thought they were doing something dumb. I wasn't even trying to be a hardcore closer. It was just a really bad plan. I was like, I think that's dumb. Like, I'm not trying to be offensive, but like, wow. And they were like, they laughed and they were like, okay. Why do you think that that's dumb? And I said, I'm not trying to be offensive, but, and then I talked for like 10 minutes about why I thought they were dumb. And they were like, nobody's ever told me that before. Can we meet? And I was like, yeah, absolutely. Because I wasn't trying to be a jerk. So, Mark, thank you for your patience, buddy. What question can I answer?
So actually, mine not as much of a question. I guess also a win.
Oh, that's great. I'd much rather that be the case.
But a lot of it over the past like week or so, I've just been kind of taking the principles we always talked about, as well as some of the other calls, and I came up with a few questions that have been giving me quite a lot of success. So I just figured I'd try to share it with people. But one, just for kind of, I know you said it's hard to get the sellers excited about talking about selling their house. I've been asking them, what do you think stands out most about your home or the neighborhood? And this just
that.
kind of reframing it as just helps me understand what appeal it might have to potential buyers. And I've found that like a lot of people almost want to play realtor for a little bit. So
Yes.
they go and they just keep talking and talking and talking. It's open a lot of the leads that otherwise weren't very communicative.
Yeah.
And then one other thing is asking them, is there a specific reason you're curious about the value of your home right now? So that kind of seems to take away them just saying, I was just curious, because now they have to say why they were curious. So
describe why they're curious.
Exactly.
Is that just something you came up with or you heard from someone?
Yeah, no, it was just trial and error, honestly.
I love that question.
Going through it. Yeah, and then
have a very nurturing disposition way about you, just in the calls we've been on. Like you just don't seem like anybody that's trying to push anybody in anything. So I think these questions, I wouldn't be surprised if this is kind of just who you are as a person, just a naturally inquisitive. Am I right or am I?
Yeah, I like to think so, at least.
Yeah. What were you were going to say another question that's working for you?
Oh, and then just the other thing is kind of saying, oh, let me get this done before the holiday season in some fashion or another. That's also been really good for me. So the past two leads I've called that weren't initially super open have both scheduled the in-person with me by the end of the call. Just that, as well as showing that there's value. I'm trying to add value apart from trying to get them to sell their home soon. So complimenting objections, all that kind of stuff that you talked about. But
those are great. Can you list those three questions again, just like three in a row for the sake of the group?
Yeah. So what do you think stands out most about your home or the neighborhood? It helps me understand what might appeal to most potential buyers. The other is there a specific reason you're curious about your home's value at this time? And then the other one's not much of a question, but okay, do you have 10 to 15 minutes? Because all I can do is a large value range, but to get you that specific value, stop by for 10, 15 minutes before the holiday season gets up there. And that way you can go into that time frame with thinking about it or something along those lines. So that one haven't worked out too much.
No, those are great. And candidly, guys, like as a leader of this session, one of the greatest joys I have is you guys taking these concepts. My hope, and I told this to the Meskula team, is that I kind of give you guys kind of principles, or I'll use a gardening analogy, really good soil, and then who you are comes out. A lot of times I really like, and this is just generally for your sake, everyone here, I feel like the real estate industry is such a guru culture, and people want just they want gurus, they want leaders, and the leaders in turn want to be the guru. And then ends up happening is, in order for me to be a high paid guru, I need you to depend on me. And the way that I'm going to do that is I'm going to give you very specific phrases to use. I'm going to tell you what you should be doing with your week and your business schedule, because if it's specific enough, then you'll keep paying me. And I just the problem with is real estate is such a hyper local industry. What works in Los Angeles probably is not going to work the same way in Mobile, Alabama, right? Like it's just and so what my hope is that I inspire all of you to take these concepts and literally do what Mark and Kim are doing. You're learning, you're growing, and you are at your own. And so please keep sharing these wins, because I think you're inspiring others to analyze this stuff and to say, okay, how can I do this? And honestly, let's see, 13 or 14 years of buying and converting online leads, I've just found that people that keep doing the work, keep facing failure, the majority of people you talk to are not going to want to work with you, and keep asking questions, keep learning in sessions like this one. Those are the agents that end up being very successful. It's why I have an 80 agent team. What I'm teaching you guys of facing failure, talking to consumers, rinse and repeat, that didn't work. Try it again, try something else, right? And then once you get these clients, learning how to hold on to them, right? And talking to them afterwards, maybe like 3 or 4 times a year, you are going to build a gargantuan business. Within 2 years, I got really tired of doing 10 to 12 transactions a month on my own. The benefit to versus the cost of quality of life just became to where it just wasn't worth it for me. So then I had to flip that into a small team, which flipped into a large team, which flipped into a brokerage, which then flipped into a technology company. And like it just keeps rolling into itself, because we happen to work in an industry that people want houses. People don't like being homeless. So just stay in that sort of learning, stay in that spirit of focus and growth. But at the top, does anybody have anything else they want to say before we end the call? All right. Well, this next week, the holidays, you're welcome. What I would recommend you do is any leads that come in, even on Christmas Eve, if they're asking for a call, just call, right? Just don't worry about it. Don't apologize. I'm so sorry for calling on Christmas Eve. No, they asked you to call them. They walked into your office today and they asked you to call them. So don't be apologetic. And then if you don't have a lot of people to talk to, I would recommend over the next 7 days, 8 days, I would recommend contacting all of your past clients and just asking them how the property is, wishing them a happy holiday, new year, whatever, is comfortable for you. Because in a few months, I'm going to encourage you guys to go back to those past clients and ask for referrals in a way that's not cheesy, right? But it makes it way easier if you said, hey, in December, when you asked for business late January and February. So make sure you guys are doing that, and keep calling these homeowner leads and try to get that face-to-face appointment. Okay. All right, everybody, have a fantastic weekend. It's always a pleasure. Thanks so much.